guys, welcome back to another episode of Robeast Reviews. I am, of course, your host, Robeast. Today's episode is going to basically be just a quick vlog-style video, kind of in regards to my feelings about the issues that sort of currently face toy collectors, the toy collecting community, what have you, in 2021, and sort of give you my personal take on some of these issues, sort of my personal philosophy, like larger scale philosophy on toy collecting in general. Just because I see so much vitriol and so much anger in the toy community about these issues in 2021, with everything that we're dealing with globally, on top of, as a toy collector, trying to find your way in that world of buying the things that you like or the things that you want in 2021. Hopefully this won't be a long video, although no promises. I do have a tendency to be rather long-winded when it comes to something I'm passionate about, but either way, we'll try to keep this relatively on point. The first issue, or the sort of first point I want to discuss, is this idea of store exclusives, the quote-unquote evil of store exclusives, and the idea that employees of these companies are out to, they're buying up all the toys, they're buying up all of these store exclusives, all of these sort of hard to find action figures, and, selling them on the secondary market and scalping and all of that. First off, let me just first address the fact that if in 2021, if you can't understand that store exclusives are a necessary evil, you need to maybe take a moment, sort of look at big picture, sort of do some homework, do some research, and understand that as much as we can all hate on store exclusives in 2021, with the absence of stores like Toys R Us or KB or dedicated large-scale toy stores, are helping keep adult collectibles in chain retail stores. It's just it's a fact. There's no way around it. To ensure that the Target and Walmart continue to carry their products, the large toy companies, the larger toy manufacturers, the Mattels, the Hasbros, even at this point, the NECAs and the Super 7s and whatever, a cold hard fact, first off, is that Walmart and Target do not need toys. They don't. They're not making a ton of money off of action figures and toys. So the fact that Target still has 5 or 6 aisles, small aisles, but 5 or 6 aisles dedicated to toys is, something that we should actually be thankful for, because it could very well be 1-0. Toys have never been historically something that made any store a lot of money. People, I think, as toy collectors, we sort of presume all of this importance and all of this financial reward on these companies, when in fact, large scale, even big companies like Hasbro and Mattel, and what, Kenner back in the day, they've always had to have a few giant hits to really stay in business. The Masters of the Universe of Star Wars, there was a heyday where, these toy companies were successful, but those days are long gone. And since those days, they have to do whatever they can to ensure that they turn a profit, just like any business. So part of that, the machinations of being a toy manufacturer in this day and age, is making sure that your product can get to toy store shelves, they can get to the public outside of an online retailer type scenario, that to still be in a physical store location, they need to entice large-scale chain stores to carry their product. And the way that they've been doing that has been store exclusives. Does it suck for the collector? Yes. Does it suck when you have scalpers out there who are, snatching up all the product to turn snatching up all the product to turn a profit on the secondary market? Yeah, but at the end of the day, it's either it doesn't exist at all, or it sort of has to go along these lines until there's a store that can carry a volume of product. Until there's basically a return of Toys R Us or a Toys R Us sized and scale toy store. It's a sort of an unfortunate aspect of the world we live in, and it goes back to something I preach all the time, and it's the adult collecting market is going to be the death of toys. Kids, and if this is something that if you're not already aware of, I'm assuming that multiple, whether it's YouTube channels such as ours or online articles, whatever, it should be a well-known fact that kids just don't buy toys. It's just, that's how it goes. In 2021, kids have many other interests that they spend their dollars on, and toys are not really one of them. The physical toy, action figure, whatever you want to call it, item is not something that is geared anymore towards kids. We're not growing that audience. Some companies have made an attempt to grow that audience to sort of appeal to a younger demographic, and the adult toy collecting community throws a hissy fit when there's product out there that's not exactly specifically catered to them, and it's going to be the inevitable, slow, painful death of the action figure and toy community, because we're just not building a new fan base. We're not getting new collectors and new a younger clientele interested in toys and action figures, and that's a problem. And it's a problem I think that's far too large to sort of address in a YouTube video, especially by some knucklehead like myself, but it is a problem that we need to be aware of. And I think toy companies are doing whatever they can to scramble to sort of find a solution there. The current solution, and what has been the contemporary solution for the last 10 to 15 years, is the adult collector market and catering more to them. Do I think there are store employees who are plucking up all the store exclusives at the Targets and the Walmart specifically? Do I think there are store employees who are buying a product and selling it on the secondary market? Yeah, probably. Is it at the scale that I think a lot of online chatter sort of is dedicated to pointing out the belief that it's this rampant, huge problem? No, probably not. That, most likely, at a store-to-store level, it's probably a smaller percentage of stores, but it's still going to happen. And honestly, I don't care if it's a store employee or a different scalper. Scalping is a pain in the ass. And I think, that's a whole other cancerous aspect of the toy collecting community. But it's one that we have to deal with because it's not going away. There's no, I see all this discussion online, like, what can Target do to stop this? Nothing. How are they going to stop it? At the end of the day, Target doesn't give a shit. What they care about is selling their toys. The same way they care about selling their cartons of milk or selling their apparel, their belts or whatever. It's their business. It's not their... Not only do they not really give a shit, they also... They don't really have to. It's not their problem. Their problem is making money, turning a profit, and, toys and the toy community and the needs of the toy community are, quite frankly, probably one of their smaller concerns. And if you don't realize that, it's just a sort of cold, hard fact of life. At the end of the day, these toys are still finding their way to the secondary market. Are you going to have to pay increased price? Yes. Is that a bummer? Yes, I'm with you. I'm there with you. It does suck, but guess what? At the end of the day, you can still decide whether or not you want the item. Are you willing to pay the extra money? It's up to you. It's up to the individual buyer. If it's not worth it to you, then don't buy it. But throwing out all of this vehement, sort of bitterness and anger towards the large chain stores and the retail locations is just futile. Whether or not it's even valid, it's futile, because it's honestly not going to be resolved, and it's not something they really care about. Obviously, that communication can be around, or at least more centered around and sort of dictated to the toy companies. But again, they're just trying to survive. They're trying to get product to the toy stores. They're trying to also turn a profit. They're still a business. It's obviously more in their self-interest to make sure that the fan base is happy and stuff. But again, they don't create the problem of chain stores not having their product because of scalping, or they're just trying to get the toys in stores in the first place, let alone worry about how those items are sold or, you know, partitioned out to the public. I don't think I used that word right. Either way, but it's not partitioned; it's parsed. Either way, I won't edit that. I'll leave that in. But either way, it's going to be a situation where eventually, maybe, hopefully, ideally, magically, once COVID, if ever, is fully really resolved and behind us globally, that, you know, maybe another large-scale chain toy store will open and these items will be more readily available to the public. But even then, with with retail stores in general dying off, with more people shopping online, that doesn't eliminate the online exclusives, the Amazon exclusives, the Entertainment Earths or whatever. This is going to be with us as a toy collecting community for a very long time, and you can either accept it and just move along with your business, move along with your life, or you can sit online and complain about it. Anybody can point out a problem, but that's not really that helpful. What's helpful is recognize the problem and offering a solution to it. And I don't see a lot of those solutions being offered online, at least not realistic resolutions. Now, again, while I get sort of frustrated at the sort of unrealistic there's a lot of people online who they see everything from a very tunnel vision point of view as far as from their personal experience with trying to buy toys. A perfect example is you see people online with the Motu Origins figures complaining that their Walmarts and their Targets don't have it. But then another Walmart and Target are rife with them. Not just the He-Mans and the Skeletors, but they're sitting on product. It's you can see things from your personal point of view, what the stores are like in your area, but that doesn't necessarily speak to a larger experience, to a larger reality. But at the end of the day, I have a few philosophies for myself for collecting that have made me at least maybe happier than maybe another collector. And again, I'm not telling you to share my point of view, or I'm not doing this to dictate your experience or lecture or anything like that, because that's not my intention. But I'll just share with you some personal perspective, some personal philosophy I have as far as toy collecting. The first is toy collecting should be fun, always. I mean, that's what toys were invented for. They were invented to play with, to expand your imagination, and they were invented for fun. I have enough stress in my life. I don't need stress from my hobbies. So I try to keep that in mind, in that perspective at all times. Like, even when I get frustrated by something, I'm like, look, this isn't the end of the world. It's toys, it's my hobby. I love it, but it's not as vital as my health, as, my family, the health of my loved ones. We have to keep things in perspective. And I try to remind myself of that constantly. Number two is, I don't see collecting toys, I don't see this hobby as a competition. I am pretty competitive in other aspects of my life, but for action figures, for toy collecting, for when I was very into collecting comic books, collecting movie memorabilia, whatever it is that I collect, it's not a competition. It's not a race to see who can get there first with owning something. It's not about, when I die, who has the biggest collection. I buy the things I want. I make the decision constantly if I may want this item. Is it worth it to me to spend X amount of money on it? If not, that's my decision. I move on happily. I'm not, I've said this in other videos. But you know, I'm not a minimum card collector. I don't give a shit about the value of toys. I will never care about the value of toys. The only thing I will care about the value of toys once I own them is in maybe how I display them or how I handle them. Just on the chance that if I were to actually break one, would I want to, you know, rebuy it? But outside of that, I never plan on reselling these. My poor family will be burdened with having to deal with all of these things once I pass away. But it's not a competition. I think, you know, again, competition's fine. Like, and I get that aspect of, you know, you want to have the biggest and baddest collection and whatever. And I guess I understand that impulse, but it's not, I don't share that philosophy. I think that's how people get bitter. I think that's how people get burnt out on the hobby. You know, obviously, like, there's going to be people, especially in the toy collecting community, who have a greater resource of wealth to be able to support their hobby. You don't have to compare yourselves to them. There's no winners. You know, nobody wins this. There's no prize. That's my personal take on it. I don't, you know, when I see people online sort of, you know, sort of engaging in that sort of like, you know, competitive side of toy collecting, or like, you know, like, well, why doesn't your collection, you know, your collection sucks if it doesn't have this, or you're not a real collector if you don't have items A and B, that these two items that were only produced in Europe for, you know, 2 months after the decline of a toy line, or whatever the scenario is. Like, come on, man, it's toys. It's not that big of a deal. It's not that big of an accomplishment. Is it impressive when I mean, you know, I say that, but is it impressive when I see somebody who has an incredible toy collection that's been beautifully, you know, displayed and cultivated, and a bunch of rare items and a very, you know, of course, that's part of the point of this channel. Is I love collecting figures, and I love seeing other people's collections and how those collections are displayed, because it's fun to me. But just because I can appreciate somebody else's extensive collection full of all these super rare and one-of-a-kind items and stuff, and really appreciate it, it doesn't make me bitter towards that person for owning that collection. Good for them. I'm happy that there's somebody out there who cares about these toys, that spent enough time and money and effort into preserving these figures and toys and items, and lovingly display them. That's awesome. I love that. That makes me so happy. You know, I don't view it as something that is, you know, it's never going to be a source of stress for me. It's never going to be a source of jealousy. I mean, sure, if I see somebody, you know, amazing collection of, they have every single, you know, jumbo Mashinder ever released, you know, all of the rare ones that were only in, you know, Asia, and, you know, of course, I mean, like, damn, those are beautiful. I would love to own those too, but that's where it ends. It's like, sure, I'd love to own that, but, you know, I'm not gonna stress about it. You know, I have to be realistic, and I have to, you know, understand that, you know, as much as I would love to spend $2,800 on a single item, you know, that's a lot of money for, you know, a toy, and I have to sometimes pull myself back and go, is that worth it? Is that something that's reasonable? You know, for some other people, that's a drop in the hat, and that's not a big deal, and, you know, boom. But again, that's great for them. But again, I don't view it as a competition. I will never view toys as something other than little pieces of art that bring joy to my life, and that I try to fill my life with as many of the ones that I love as possible. So, you know, I could expound more on this, but, you know, I just wanted to share a few personal philosophies for toy collecting, and sort of how that impacts the issues that we're facing now. With that being said, you know, obviously, like, yeah, it's frustrating when you're a toy collector, especially you've been collecting for a long time. There's going to be things that you feel could be handled better, things that you feel like definitely could be addressed in this weird niche that is toy collecting in this modern age. And, you know, that doesn't mean you're like, I'm not saying your opinions aren't valid, or that you're, you know, it's not a comment about the individual toy collector so much as it is about reminding people to have a broader perspective, and also maybe focus more on the things that you love in the toy community and the things that you're excited about. That's that. I know there are going to be people that say like, oh, he doesn't like being critical, or he can't handle. It's not it at all. In truth, I have a tendency to be very hypercritical. I have a tendency to be, if you ask me my opinion on movies or pop culture or things like, I not only have a tendency to be critical, sometimes I can be hypercritical about things. But with toys and toy collecting, it's definitely a thing where it's an area of my life that brings me a lot of happiness and I have a very stressful job. I have a family. I have a lot of responsibilities. I have enough headaches in my life. Toys are not going to be one of them. If at some point toys become something that I feel compelled to go online and just complain about constantly, I'm probably just going to stop collecting, because at that point it's no longer the fun that I intended to be, that it was when I started falling in love with toys. So yeah, anyways, if you have an opposing view, I'd love to hear it. If you agree with me or you don't, I'd love to hear. Leave a message in the comments. Let me know what you think. As always, like and subscribe. It will mean a lot to me in this channel and the future of this channel. But yeah, as I always say, at the end of the day, it's always about support. So make sure that you support the things you love, and that includes your toys. Thanks, guys, and have a great rest of your day.